Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to Fandom Frequency. It's your boy, Kenny, coming to you guys solo dolo. First and foremost, Merry Christmas, guys. Happy holidays. It's great to see you. I know it's been a little minute. Been busy with those good old 9 to 5s and all that, but we're here to bring you some new content, obviously. And we're talking about, as you can tell by the shirt, it's a Scream, baby. Scream 5, 5 potential theories of who the killer is going to be. You know what I'm saying? So tune in, make sure you don't go anywhere. You click the like, you click the subscribe, and all that good jazz. Make sure you click the bell button. You get notified every single time we drop new dopeness into your feed. You're going to get it right there. All my fandom freaks that need their fix, we got you, baby. I'm just playing. We don't got no fixes, man. I'm just playing. But here we go, guys. Getting right into it. Number 5. This is no particular order of most likely to least likely or any of that bullshit. It's just 5 theories that I came up with in celebration of the 5th installment. So, theory number 5. The most obvious, I would say. The killer is one of the original 3 characters that we all know and love. The trio, Gale Weathers, Dewey Riley, and of course, Sidney Prescott. The number 1 suspect ever since Scream 2, every time a movie is dropping or coming out. Obviously, I wasn't around in 97 at the age to where I was aware that Scream 2 was coming, but 1999, 2000s when I watched those two, and I had anticipation for Scream 3. Didn't see it in the theater, but I did get to catch it on home video, and I loved it at the time, but obviously it hasn't aged as well. But I've been there for pretty much most of the hype trains, Scream 3, Scream 4 to now. So I'm always a part of one of the people that's like, I wonder if it could be Sydney this time. But at this point in the franchise, at least in my mind, I don't think it's going to be her because I think that's a little silly at this point. After 4 films, don't you think she would have snapped before this point? You know what I mean? I just feel like that's like a cheap reveal. It doesn't really have much weight to it at this point when we're so invested in Sydney as a character. We all love her. We all know her. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me personally. But hey, you know, if any of you guys out there think that Sydney is the killer makes sense, drop it in the comments below. I would love to get into a friendly discussion about it and see what your perspective is on it, because to me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Gale or Dewey, I think, makes slightly more sense. Gale, I was really a big suspect of. Like, I was really suspect of her back in Scream 2. But she ultimately had that character turn, you know what I mean? She had that or face turn from heel, you know what I mean? So that went out the window at that point. But with some of the descriptions of her character, spoiler alert for people that don't want to know anything about the new film coming out, I'm avoiding a lot of spoiler-ish type stuff, but I don't really think this is a spoiler. It's one simple log line talking about where her character is at in life at this point. And at this point, she is hosting a morning show and actually pretty successful at what she's trying to do and kind of regain some of that Gale Weathers fame from the first 2 installments. So it's kind of cool to see things kind of coming back around in full circle. And it also appears that her and Dewey aren't together either. So very interesting stuff. Dewey isn't sheriff anymore. So those two seem to be in the most interesting kind of places after this. Sydney apparently has a child, as we saw in the trailer, running with the baby and whatnot, looking like she's living in Seattle or Colorado somewhere, which makes sense. Get the fuck out of Haddonfield, Laurie Strode. Come on. But anyways, getting back to the thing and the point. But yeah, man, Sydney just doesn't make sense to me, but I think Dewey and Gale does have a little bit of credence to it. So for now, I'm going to put that one at number 5. Number 4, theory number 4. It is Deputy Judy Hicks and her son, Wes Hicks, played by Dylan Minnette, a new character introduced in this new film. And one key little detail that I always thought about with her was that she did seem a little creepy and sort of stalkerish to Sydney, because she was like, "Oh, don't you remember me? I used to sit next to you in class or some shit." And Sydney was like, "No, not really." And she was like, "Oh yeah, you were going through a lot back then." She was just acting real creepy. And I know that was kind of like a little red herring in Scream 4 for the purpose of Scream 4, not Scream 5. I get it. Scream 2022, whatever you want to call it. But I still think she seems like a bit of a creeper. We only have one shot of her in the trailer driving down the street in the sheriff's car, screaming and whatnot. We don't really know what she's screaming about. And we haven't really seen tons of footage of her son, played by Dylan Minnette, Wes Hicks. And I think there could be a two-killer situation going on there, mother and son killers, sort of hearkening back to that Billy and his mother, Debbie Salt. I don't remember her actual name, my bad. But it kind of brings things full circle and does something new and kind of old school and mixes all the franchise together in the classic kind of, or in the modern, not classic, but in the modern reboot kind of way, a la Force Awakens, Ghostbusters Afterlife, the list goes on and on. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of what's going on there with them. And I don't have too much evidence for Wes Hicks, her son, but one line in the trailer, they were saying they're all targeting people related to the original killers, which could be from all four, whatever. That's an interesting line, because how is he connected to an original killer unless Judy is a killer or was a killer or is related to one of the killers, Stu Mock or something like that. So it's very interesting to see how things are going in this whole thing, man. But overall, that's my number 4 theory. Judy Hicks, Wes Hicks, Dylan Minnette, all that. That's my number 4 theory. Number three is going to be Mindy Meeks Martin, one of the new characters, as we've seen in the trailer, the young African-American, possibly Hispanic-looking lady there, young lady. And she is obviously related to our boy Randy Meeks and his sister Martha Meeks. So how does that go down? Obviously, he's dead, so she's alive. She could be married. She could have kids. That's a pretty obvious thing. They do appear to be Hispanic or Hispanic, Latino, Black, something like that. So it could be a mixed situation. So she could have got married to, some black dude or something like that, and they had kids, and these are these kids, right? But the interesting thing is, related to original killers, Randy's not a killer, his sister's not a killer. So you could rule they are being targeted and they are related to original victims. So that's also interesting too, and kind of reminds me of the copycat plot line that was sort of introduced and then kind of tossed aside in Scream 2. But I do find it interesting that it kind of seems to be coming back around in this way. And another rumor or a possible theory or just fake thing that I heard about online was the fact that Martha Meeks was supposed to have a cameo and a role or role in this new film, but she was cut in the editing room and left on the cutting room floor. So it's going to be interesting to see if that comes to light or if she ends up popping up in the movie. But Mindy Meeks Martin, they're related, so it's all got to go down one way, but it could be cousins, it could be anything. But they do pique my interest with her and her brother and whatnot, so I do have a little bit of suspicions of them. Haven't seen a lot of them in the trailers. The meta-ness of them being related to Randy and Martha and them being the killers, being related to the guy that knew everything that had to go down with slashers and horror movies in general, does kind of ring that nice meta-ness without going too heavy and crazy with it, but it does kind of create this link to the original film without it being super obvious or on the nose, like theory number 5 with the original 3 being one, with the original 3 being killers or one of them or whatever the case is. So that's my number 3 theory right there, guys. Mindy Meeks Martin and possibly her brother or brother, but I'm gonna go mostly Mindy. My theory number 2, numero dos, Melissa Biera's character, Sam Carpenter. Now, we did have one little kind of hint, possibly misdirect, in the featurette.
Who is this?
Someone who knows your little secret.
So what does that mean? That could be a misdirect in the sense of it's making her seem like she's doing something, but she isn't, or the phone call could be fake and she could be having that as a setup to make it seem like she's not a victim because she kind of understands you got to have a little more nuance to what's going on. You can't be like Billy and have your girl realizing that you didn't actually make that phone call to who you said you did. So that's a whole thing right there that can kind of toss things on its head. And it also makes things very interesting because the girl that looks like is being, or the woman, whatever you want to say, is being introduced as the final girl or the main protagonist, the new Sydney, whatnot, whatever you want to say. Her being kind of propped up and introduced into that role is what it seems like, with her and Sydney meeting in the trailer, as you see, and her saying, I've been through this a lot. And she's like, I know who you are. And she's like, I know what you're going through. Trust me, I got you, yo. And it just seems like she's being propped up as the final girl. But wouldn't that be hella interesting? And for the first time in a long time within the slasher genre, to my knowledge, within more known slasher movies in the last 15, 20 years, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it's the only slasher I know that is using the final girl as the killer if Sam Carpenter does end up being one of, if not the, killer in the film. So I do find that interesting. I do find it as one of the more likely theories out of the ones that I have and I've thought about or seen online. And that's going to take us in to numero one. Get your tinfoil hats on for a minute, not your Santa Claus hat. Take it off, switch it on. Stu is back.
Oh!
Somebody's back. And it's one of and the killer is, and my number one theory is either going to be a previous character that was either a killer or victim that we already know, or survivor, or is going to be a brand new relative of one of the original killers that we haven't met yet, that hopefully isn't related to Sydney, because that's been repeated twice already. But I digress. So I'm kind of cheating throwing two theories into one, but the reason why I'm throwing two into one is because they're very similar, but just slightly different in the fact that it would either be a person from the original or their relative. I do believe that's the way it's sort of going, or it's a new person working for an older character. That's the way I see it going. Scream 3, the original concept, you know what I mean? I'm not going to go into full details here, but you can go look it up. It's very interesting stuff. But in light of the Columbine school shootings, whole thing going on in the early 2000s, late 90s, they decided to go away from that, and we got the Scream that we are known for, or that we know it to be. So it's very interesting to see how all that is panning out. But yeah, man, it's going to be very interesting to see if it's a brand new relative of an original killer, original character or whatnot, or if it's like Stu back from the dead, so to speak, or not literally, but you know what I'm saying, seemingly back from the dead, back from the shadows. It's interesting, sort of. I would love to see Matthew Lillard, you know what I mean, but I just think it's a little too far-fetched, seeing as how the whole TV thing, it just seems a little too out there for me personally. But hey, anything's possible in the world of film, man. It's all fiction anyways, right? But who knows, man? Anything's possible. But what do you guys think? Let me know what your top 5 theories or what theory you have in general for who the killer is in this new Scream flick, in Scream 5. Let me know what you think down below. I would love to get into a awesome discussion with all you fellow Scream fans out there. You guys have been showing so much love to the Scream content on this channel. And thanks for hopping on the hype train to Scream 2022, Scream 5, with your boy and with everybody here at Fandom Frequency. But the hype train isn't over yet, guys. We got a top 5 ranking of the Scream franchise, not the movies per se yet, but we're going to be talking about a particular subject within the Scream franchise. Right before Scream 5 drops, we're going to have a spoiler review for that ASAP, hopefully the weekend of the film or like the very next week within the first like couple days. Real quick after Scream 5 drops, we want that review to be out there as fast as possible. So we're going to get that to you guys. And we're going to be ranking all 5 Scream films after the new Scream film comes out. And I've had a chance to see it a couple times. And the fellow colleagues of mine have had a chance to see it at least once or twice. I'll get a few of us together, and we're going to sit down and talk about the top 5 Scream movies. We're going to rank, or not top 5, but we're going to rank all 5 Scream films from our favorites to our least favorite. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. So the hype train to Scream isn't ending anytime soon. It's going to be going into 2022, baby. So buckle up. Thank you guys for checking out this latest episode. And before you go, we got a fandom giveaway, man. Fandom holiday giveaway. Let me repeat that. Fandom holiday giveaway. 2 tickets to Spider-Man No Way Home. Any theater, any state of your choice, anywhere you live, we gonna get those funds to you, or however it's gonna work. And you're gonna go check out Spider-Man No Way Home. 2 tickets if you are the 50th subscriber on the channel. We're at about 34 subscribers, I believe. We're trying to reach the first 100 by the end of the year. So if you are one of the lucky subscribers, that's either the 50th or the 100th. If you're the 50th, you're going to get 2 Spider-Man No Way Home tickets. If you're the 100th subscriber and you send us that screenshot, just like the 50th is going to do if they reach that, if we get that goal, come on, guys, let's do it. You're going to get 2 PS4 games, Jedi Fallen Order and Grand Theft Auto 5 for you, and both Spider-Man No Way Home tickets. So, just to reiterate, the 50th subscriber, send us a screenshot, let us know who you are. We're going to send you 2 Spider-Man No Way Home tickets, and if you're the 100th and we get to that big milestone that we're trying to reach, guys, you're going to get 2 PS4 games, Spider-Man No Way Home tickets, and you're going to feel really good helping out some fellow nerds during this holiday season, guys. So stay tuned, don't sleep, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Scream.
There's a formula to it, a very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.